Can you believe, guys, that it's taken 6 weeks to get these back? So let's get these installed back into the car. I'm super excited. Let's get into it. This thing has been fighting me the whole way. I've spent the last 2 days trying to get this sorted. Somewhere in here, there is actually a yellow and blue wire. So yeah, an absolute headache. Plug and play, this certainly is not. So as exhausted as I am, yep, it's about 1:45 in the morning. Couple of issues we do have. One, we've got an error message on our dash. During the day, they're actually not really that bright. These will be going back across to Victoria for him to have a look at and see what the issues are. That was 14 months ago. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome to another video where today we are finally filming part 2 of when mods go wrong, the saga of the RGB modified headlights. Now, I'm not a vengeful person, I've got a lot of patience, but after 14 months, I think it's time to name and shame the company responsible for this. Now, you may have been wondering where this car has been on the channel. We haven't seen very much of it, and the truth is, it spent a lot of its time in exactly this position with the headlights out and the bumper off because of the disaster with the headlights. So today I'm going to run through exactly what has been happening over those 14 months, and hopefully this serves as a warning to some of you not to go down this path, and especially not with this company. So why make a video like this in the first place? Well, if you're anything like me, you're probably sick and tired of being ripped off and companies just not taking pride in their work and not treating us in the right way. So I want to bring awareness to the community and stop this from happening to anyone else. From a personal point of view, this has meant that I haven't been able to create content with this car. I've missed numerous events for it to be shown and promoted. I've also lost a potential sale of the car. A few months ago, someone offered me a great amount of money for the car, and I'm unable to sell it because of the headlights. And also, the car is on lease, so there is a point in time coming up very soon where the car actually needs to be gotten rid of, and I'm unable to do that. In my hot little hand here, I have over 40 pages of Facebook communicator messaging, and it makes for pretty dull reading. It dates back to about March in 2021 when I first inquired about having these headlights modified, but it's full of excuses and reasons for delays and all this kind of stuff. More importantly, in this hand, I have a timeline of all the major events. So this is what I'm going to run through with you guys, and it makes for incredibly frustrating reading. And I hope that by the end of this, you get a glimpse of why I'm so frustrated and why I'm making this video. So anyway, we'll start putting this car back together. It's got an appointment on Wednesday, which is about 3 days from now, with VA Technic to have these headlights programmed. I'm hoping that's the end of it, but to be honest, given what's happened in the last 14 months, I'm not holding my breath. So July 1st was the first time I sent my headlights off, and it was great excitement because I was going to get these amazing RGB modified headlights. But when they came back, the first thing I noticed was that there was an error on the dashboard. A daytime running light error popped up. And then there was some issues with condensation. It was a rainy time of year, and I noticed that both headlights were actually getting a lot of condensation when the car was parked outside in the rain. The other thing I noticed was that during the daytime, you could hardly see the indicators, so there was an issue with brightness, which is of course a safety issue if people can't see that you're indicating. Then the faults really started to creep up, and I suspect that's because a lot of moisture had crept in, and in fact the adaptive light fault came on, and then the entire right hand side headlight started to fail. I didn't have a low beam, I didn't have high beam, and of course the dashboard was lit up like a Christmas tree. So that was event number 1. So of course the headlights had to go back with the promise that all will be fixed and they will come back as good as new. Now, one thing I had noticed is that the way the headlights had been taken apart was really dodgy. Rather than actually removing the lens the proper way, they had actually just cut the lenses off and then celastic them back together, which I presume kind of contributed towards why a lot of moisture was getting in. Anyway, that's beside the point. The headlights went back, and then we had issues with, first of all, one of the modules was missing on the headlights. That was going to be, that was promised to be sent shortly after to combat one of the errors. The LEDs were brighter this time. He had changed the arrangement of them, but he said you can only run them at 85% because he doesn't want anything to melt inside the housing. So that's already a bit sus. There was still a lot of plastic shavings inside the lens, which was something I complained from the first video. But then most importantly, the lenses started to cloud over from the inside. It wasn't condensation. It was actually more like an oily film that actually started to build up and made them really foggy. So, of course, the headlights had to go back again. That was event number 2. So where are we up to now? September. We're 6 months out from the original inquiry date. And at this point, I'm getting fairly frustrated. So the headlights have come back. There's still an error with the right-hand side DRL, but did send me a module a few weeks later, which I put in and that fixed that. But of course it meant I had to take the bumper off, headlights out and all that kind of stuff, right? Which is my time. But anyway, I fixed that. But now we had a right-hand side high beam malfunction. So that wasn't working. The adaptive lighting error was still present on the dashboard. So I'm getting fairly frustrated at this point, and I wrote them a fairly strongly worded email and actually gave them an out. And I said, look, if you have another customer with an RS3 that's sending their headlights to you, just send me their headlights. I'll put them in my car. I'll send these ones back to you and you can work on them, fix them and send that to the customer, right? Well, they kind of declined that.
Many months later.
There was no real progress with getting the errors out of the lighting or out of the car. And I sent another email outlining the workmanship issues that I was seeing. There was gaps in the interior panels. There was still plastic shavings throughout the whole thing. So I just wanted to put it down in more of an official way. And I basically said, at this point, I would like some OEM headlights returned to me so that I'm back to where I was before I started dealing with. Their response was pretty much they want to get the job done right, so give them one more opportunity to fix it, which meant, of course, the headlights went back again. So where does that take us through to? I think that's April now, right? 2022. That's over 12 months since my initial inquiry about the headlights. And I think that's the 4th time the headlights had been back to Melbourne to try and be repaired. That's 4 opportunities to get fixed and 4 opportunities where they failed to do the right thing. So what happened? Well, actually, before they sent them back for the 4th time, they said, we're going to test it on an RS3 here in Melbourne just to make sure everything's Mickey Mouse. And so that gave me some confidence, although not too much. And then in June 2022, the headlights came back, I installed them, and of course, all the errors were still present. And now, on top of everything, I had a huge gap in the internal panels of the headlight on the right-hand side. So you can actually see straight into the guts of the headlight, which is just shocking workmanship. At this point, someone had actually made a huge offer on the car and I was happy to take it, but of course I couldn't sell the car with the headlights the way that they were. So, yep, lost sale on that one. You can say that cost me 80 grand or whatever. So I write an email, say, I'm done, I'm out. Let's just get some OEM headlights, ship them to me, and I'll send these ones back to you and we'll call it a day. They said, yep, that's fine. And I agreed to help try and find some because they're a bit tricky to find. And eventually, I think it was in July, found one. I found one on Marketplace for the other side and we had them shipped over to us. And the timing was actually going to be pretty good because one of the headlights had actually started to develop a condensation leak inside the lens. So I was like, that's cool. I'm going to get some secondhand OEM ones shipped over and I can just plug them in and I'll be back to where I was before this entire disaster started, considering that we were well into the 12th months of this saga. So the headlights arrived and of course, one of them is damaged. The right hand side one I can hear has got a clunk, clunk, clunk. And as I look closer, I can see the whole internal mechanisms have come loose from their mounting point and just flopping around inside the actual headlight. So I write to say, hey, it's got damaged, or it's been damaged, or whatever it is. And they're like, that's the one that you recommended. So, you know, and I'm like, wait, what are you trying to say? And they're like, oh, nothing, nothing, nothing. So I was like, yeah, I'm actually helping you out here, so don't go insinuating anything like that. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, they found another one for the right hand side and they sent that across as well. And that brings us neatly to today. It is currently November 20th. I've got two secondhand OEM headlights in the car, supposedly looking like nothing ever happened, but I still have all the errors on the dash. The high beams are not working on either of them at the moment. They don't self-level test when you start them up. The adaptive lights don't work. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's not working, to the point where now I think it's down to programming. So after a bit of research, we kind of discovered that these things, once you change the modules in the headlight, need reprogramming to be able to talk to the car. So that's what's going to happen on Wednesday. Do I think it's going to fix everything? Boy, I sure hope so, because the sad thing with this whole saga is that it's really made me dislike the car, and that's nothing against the car. The car's perfect, it's beautiful, awesome to drive, one of the best cars I've ever had. But when you have ongoing issues like this, you just start to resent the car, and that really is all on and I'm holding them accountable to this. So I really hope things get sorted out on Wednesday, but we'll have to pick it up from there. VA Technic is one of Perth's premier Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda and Porsche workshops, offering a raft of quality services backed up by years of experience. And wow, just check out this amazing workshop. So the car spent a week at VA Technic, who had kindly offered to attempt to reprogram the headlights despite their busy schedule. But eventually I got the call to come and pick the car up. Look at that, they're working. Wow, that's not the best part. Check this out, guys. No errors on the dash whatsoever. Perfect. So there we go. That should be the end of the story, right? Well, unfortunately it's not. I had one more kick in the guts coming my way. Now, I think we'll all agree in terms of the OEM replacement lights, they're operating the way they should. I've got no dashboard errors, the lights work the way they should, and I'm back to where I was about 14 months ago with some standard headlights. You might say I'm at net zero, apart from the fact that I'm $1,600 out of pocket for the original job of modifying the headlights. Now, when it came to a refund, I always thought that wouldn't be a point of argument. But of course it was. So to cut a long story short, the company offered a refund only under the conditions where I send the modified headlights back to them, give them a chance to repair them, allow them time to list them for sale on their online shop, wait for them to sell, and only once they've sold would they actually send me the refund. Now, I'm not going to comment on whether or not I think that was actually going to happen and the likelihood of seeing that money, but it didn't sit well with me because basically I was surrendering any leverage that I might have had to resolve this situation. So out of pure principle, I decided to walk away, which leaves me $1,600 out of pocket, with a set of modified headlights that are probably not really any good to anyone apart from someone that knows what they're doing. So if anyone out there does want a set of modified headlights that needs some work, send me a DM and we'll sort something out. So that's it, the end of the headlight saga. For me, it's been an expensive and emotionally draining exercise, but I'm not going to sit here and slander the company. This video is basically a factual account of my experience, and I'll leave it up to you guys as to who you wish to engage to work on your pride and joy. And I want to say thank you to you guys, because over the last year I've received heaps of messages of support and inquiries as to when the follow-up to part 1 would occur, and I really appreciate that. So if this video helps just one person avoid the drama that I've been through, then I feel I've given back to the community that's helped and supported me so much. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a like and consider subscribing, because it will help share awareness. And if you guys have got similar horror stories, why don't you leave them in the comments down below? I love hearing from you guys, and I try to respond to all of the comments on the videos. But that's it from me. It's a wrap of the headlight saga. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.